are live coming to you from the dirtiest South, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where it is about the frozen tundra down here. We got Carlos here tonight from our friends, representing our friends from the North. And then we got Brad, who is in Ohio, but very happy because his Dolphins won today. Look at that smile. That little OT win. We got Hodges. How you doing, buddy? Thank you for the shout out this week, Brian. Really, really appreciate that. Really good guy. Check him out. I also just want to thank Chris from Missouri speaking nicely of me on his channel this week. I really appreciate that. And yep, I put the smile on my face what I collect. I collect what I love and love what I collect. So that way I can't, even if I lose money, I'm very happy with what I got. So tonight Brad's on, so we might talk a little football and all that stuff. But this tis the season of Bradley Claus. I just want to thank you from everybody. I have my package. I'll be revealing it on my Wednesday additions to my collection. I just want to thank you personally from all of us again. I brought a caring person on, and then Carlos. So we
do what I can. That is the most accurate thing you've ever said in the. Shut it down. That is, you've peaked at accuracy. That is truth that you've just spoken, sir.
He's not the number one Sunday show for nothing. See,
hey,
amazing.
They come at me, and I love it.
Well, listen. You keep telling these truths, and I might get threatened. I might have to just put Eric on a camera for the entirety of Sunday, just steal all your viewers. That's it.
that would happen. That would. I got to get you one too for probably Brad back for hockey and you maybe later in the season. So Brad, what is your thoughts so far in the season? I mean, I got two happy guys here with Green Bay Packers and the Dolphins playing really well right now. I'm liking the Dolphins because I got two at quarterback and Waddle, and I'm loving life right now. But you think the Dolphins have enough in their tank to make this run?
No. If you would, anybody who watched this game today, there wasn't a Jets receiver that wasn't open today. I mean, it was ridiculous. The fact we won that game is miraculous, really. It's because bad teams find ways to lose. And the announcers never even brought this up at the end when he throws that pass to Davante Adams to get in field goal range, how he very easily could have laid in bounds and let the guy push him out of bounds. And that's why we had a chance to go down for the tying field. And I'm like, and the announcers, no one ever even mentioned how this game would have been over.
Well, before we came on, me and Carlos was talking about how bad announcers are. What do you got to say there, Carlos?
Of like an
obvious not only that, this connection, the Rodgers to Adams connection, and making poor decisions late that cost you a game. This is the team that I know. Well, this is why I have become an inadvertent Jets observer for the entirety of this season as my Schadenfreude cup runneth over. It is one of my favorite things watching the Jets lose. Now, it's not a problem with the Jets. I have no personal issue with the Jets.
That's me.
There's a man of the darkness who I enjoy watching lose over there.
Yeah. We have 5 minutes into a football conversation discussing the playoff bracket. The Dolphins are even in the SEC.
I barely watch any college football, and even I watched a couple of the games yesterday.
Yeah, that exciting. I worked all day, so I missed them. But and then at night, ACC game didn't really want Clemson, and I don't know. It's just something about watching SMU and the ACC. It's just weird to me. So I have to get over that. And
it was a fun ending, at least. I'll say it was a fun ending.
They actually hit each other. That was kind of nice to see. Some defense. Now there was bad quarterback play to contribute to a 60. Don't get me wrong. It was some, but they were flying. I like.
Yeah, I can't wait for this new playoff system. I think it's going to be really, really exciting for college football. And I think they made the right decisions.
So I'd be curious, any of the college football purists, if they absolutely hate this. because none of these games hardly meant anything last week. I mean, the only one that did was the Clemson. They got in because of it.
Right.
None of these games meant anything. You know,
Yeah, but for Clemson,
beating
for
Ohio State,
college fans, they loved the championship weekend.
yeah, that's why I'm wondering if they still love it, or is it just like,
Oh yeah,
really mad?
yeah. And
I don't know. Like, I would still enjoy watching your team.
So I love college football, and I felt a little bit out of it because it was the same 4 teams, right, all the time. The rest of, and I still feel like the smaller conferences don't have much of a chance, even with a 12 playoff, right? What are they playing for? But I digress. It's still exciting, and I think what we got to get used to is the NIL money and all that stuff in there. Automatic seeding screwed up the bracket. The number 1 seed, Oregon, might have the most difficult path. Eric is saying it's Brad. Clemson win ensured Alabama wouldn't make it. Yeah, and I'm happy about that because I didn't think Alabama should make it. So,
yeah, the last thing I want to hear is the 13th team complaining they didn't get into the playoffs.
Right now,
just stop.
That always happens, Brad. It doesn't matter what it is. Look, under the old system, Alabama automatically got a spot, whether they won a game, all the games. It didn't really matter. They just had a spot.
Zach, love college football. The only complaint I have, some of these teams play conference title games. They can only hurt them. Win does nothing for a playoff seed. Yeah, but I think they all now have playoff game. I don't think any conference doesn't. I mean, even American. I mean, Army could get congratulations to Army on a great season, and they still got one more game. Smaller teams have a chance when Notre Dame have a down season. I won't speak on that. I have friends that like Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they need to pressure them to get to the ACC or somewhere, but big money. Zach, while other teams might be better off by getting by not playing a conference title game. I got you. But yeah, so seems like, Brad, I've talked to you before. You've never really been big into college football. But now I see you talking about it this weekend.
Well, I watch it for the pros, basically.
Right.
I don't. No, I still enjoy football.
Right.
Yeah, I am not watching it necessarily with much of a rooting interest.
Right.
Like when I hear Quinn Ewers as a possible high draft pick in the NFL, I just want to blow my brains out every time I watch that guy. So I don't see it. But I digress. Stuff like that, where I'm like, every time I watch this guy, somehow I like him less.
Can you take your belt and shoelaces off, please?
So I was just saying, when I heard him talking about seeing somebody and liking them less every time you see him, I thought we were talking about the Jets again. I was like, you sure? That's become a running joke on the podcast where I'm like, I'm only watching this Jets season for the Schadenfreude. I literally want to watch Rodgers fail in every single possible way. And he's like, go ahead, keep sending him out there. I'm enjoying it.
It's good grief. He's 2 years past where he should have retired.
I was literally at the front line a year early going like, look, we can put him on the boat. We tie him to the boat. I will set the boat ablaze. As a part owner, I'm happy to volunteer to do this for us. We can cast him out to sea. We can do the Viking funeral while he's still alive. Right. Let's put him on the boat.
Yeah. And what I do like is the Packers. Do you think in 2 years when the Packers draft a high quarterback, will Love understand? Because this isn't the first time the Packers have done this, right? Where they trained a backup quarterback for behind the superstar and then moved on from the superstar. I mean, they did it with Favre.
Rodgers and Favre?
Yeah. But I mean, I remember when my UVA guy was there, Magic Man was their quarterback, and they had somebody waiting for him when he stopped being any good. So
that one, there was a little bit of a gap. It was more of an injury situation with that. It wasn't, and nobody was looking at Favre as anything. Like he was originally drafted by the Falcons. Like that was a trade. It wasn't like Rodgers is the one who was very bitter about the draft, but then he went on to win an MVP that year, so it did motivate him.
Right.
And he was much better behaved, I would say, towards Love relative to what Favre was very hostile, very openly hostile about it. So there is a difference there. But I think it's they've been pretty good though. They've been able to have a good run of quarterbacks. Love still has a lot of work to do and to prove, but he has his capabilities, and if they play, when I look at that team, they are a playoff team. They could make some noise and beat some teams, but it's basically like, well, can you minimize your mistakes? Because there's some little dumb things you do almost every game where it's like, if you do that in the playoffs against a good team, you're able to compete with some of these teams. You can be right there at the end of the games, but it's if you don't make those dumb mistakes, then you've got a real shot at winning.
And I know, Brad, you probably watch more games than anybody else. Are you seeing teams this year maybe throwing it a little bit to try to get a good draft pick? Because it kind of seems to me it's
I saw a game today that was
right.
It's definitely more prevalent than it used to be. NFL didn't. You might have a team committed to it, but not 5 or 6.
Right, and it
now
seems like
5 or 6 that's pretty committed. You're not feeling well today, you're out. We're not paying the best backup quarterback we could play.
It seemed like when I was watching the Dallas Giants game, the Giants scored to take a lead, and it almost looked like the coach had a smile on his face. McCarthy. I'm a Dallas fan, and we don't even know how to lose right now. So, I mean, to get a good draft pick, I was like, watch, we're going to win enough games to get into playoffs, lose the first game, and still not get a good draft pick. Watch, it's just going.
And I think it's so dumb, particularly in the NFL. Yes, if there's a particular quarterback, it pays off. Other than that, most of these teams are going to screw up that draft pick anyways. And all you're doing is building a losing culture by doing it, which a lot of times is the hardest thing to get out of. So to me, I'm all for sucking no more than 2 years. I'm all for taking a 2-year. This goes for any sport. But more than that, then all you have on your team are losers. And that's all they know how to do.
Right.
So that's the mistake a lot of these teams make. It's fine to do it for a year. Like, hey, a bunch of our guys got hurt. We'll wash this one away,
Right.
But you can't do that multiple years.
Right.
You see teams do it, and that's all. You just got a bunch of losers, and they don't know how to win.
And then you got a fan base like here in Carolina that just, at least Carolina played well today. I mean, it looked like it took the Red Rocket to come out earlier in the season to show the young man, hold my beer. Let me show you how to play quarterback. Looked like woke him up a little bit. So, Paul says SEC bias has been real for a while now. Took FSU getting F last year, and we see Sankey, SEC commissioner, openly advocating for too many guaranteed playoff spots. FSU gave Uga everything they could handle last season in the bowl game, at least until the coin toss.
I appreciate that. Apparently, it's Uga. I love good old Uga.
Well, that's the name of the bulldog.
Yeah, I know, but I think you're the first person to ever take the acronym and go Uga.
Oh, I that's what I always call it.
This is trendy.
Real shot. Ewers tore his pec week 2 or 3 and is playing through it. He's killed his round 1 chances with someone. But likely taking round 2, 3 because the physical talent is there. Battery. I saw Bama fans on X today saying they're good players will sit the bowl game. I was like, oh wow, really? No way. Well, that's part of football now. If you're gonna get drafted while playing a bowl, it doesn't mean anything. Evening, y'all. Dr. Exclusive has a question for Brad. Do you watch all 22 tape?
Yeah.
I thought you did. You watched the quickies on NFL?
Yeah, I also have people, especially for because the college ones are hard to get.
Oh, okay.
Those aren't.
See, Brad has people. You heard the man. He's got people.
Yeah, come draft time. That's how you.
I'm surprised
you can't watch a quarterback without watching that. Especially.
I just can't believe you do not have somebody that talks to you about NFL season. You're the most knowledgeable guy I've ever met when it comes to football.
And I will say, watching that the last few weeks, Kirk Cousins is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now. It's not
My
just
dad-
a stats thing. Because sometimes, you threw picks, but they don't matter or they're not constant.
Right.
That guy's awful right now.
bad decision making.
Yeah.
So you think if he was on the Vikings, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing,
No.
or
Not currently the way he's playing. Absolutely not.
with Atlanta?
Yeah.
When did they make a change there? If they haven't
should have done it
already.
this week. But,
Right.
Yeah. Now again, could you still be recovering from Achilles? Yeah. You can see sometimes he doesn't fully step into it. But yeah, that still doesn't mess with your decision making. To me, it shouldn't, especially a veteran quarterback. But yeah, he's awful right now. Like, he literally lost them the Charger game.
Right.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So,
That's
And
bad
then-
when you lose.
and it's frustrating because they're in a division that stinks and that they could easily win it.
Right.
He's literally throwing it away. Now, like today, Vikings are better than them, but he still didn't do them any favors.
So excluding the quarterback from Washington, because I think we're on agreement he's probably rookie of the year, at least a front runner, unless something drastically happens.
Yeah, there would have to be a Bo Nix winning out type situation.
Yeah.
He's the only
So-
one.
And so you don't. Who else is a rookie this year that's catching either one of y'all's eyes? Yeah, I do like what Bo Nix is doing. He just doesn't have the talent around him to be. I think at Washington, that's part of it. I think Washington has some good things working there with him.
But
I
Brock
think-
Bowers is the legit. We all knew he was good. It was just, were they going to go to a team that knew how to use him
Right.
and would use him as a tight end that would occasionally flink out? You know, the biggest
Right.
mistake these teams make is they're like, I have an athletic tight end. Let's put him at wide receiver. At wide receiver, he's not special.
Right.
I was
Right.
like,
What makes him great
special is linebackers, safeties, or small ass corners trying to cover him on the inside,
Yeah.
So the Raiders have actually done a pretty good job considering they have no quarterback or a mess. He has overcome that, showing you how great he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a standout for sure.
I haven't heard. I haven't seen much of the Cardinals this year. But is Harrison Jr. is he being anything that we projected out of him, or is he?
No, he disappears a lot. He knows how to run routes. He can get contested balls, but the only reason why people like Neighbors ahead of him was for the speed factor. He does not have top end speed, and Kyler's so up and down that his stats have not been. He has not lived up to the 4 pick. He hasn't been bad. He's caught some touchdowns, but overall, not major impact like you would think.
Well,
So I would
this is
say overall a little disappointing.
yeah, because I haven't heard much out of him. I don't hear any chatter. That usually, in our hobby world, it's quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't hear much out of anybody else. But even when I'm sitting there, I'm a little bit more than a casual football fan, but I am not you. I am not Carlos. I am not, I used to be, but baseball kind of eats up my time. But I try to get the highlights and stats. I play fantasy football. That keeps you in touch a lot.
Oh yeah.
Battery is just a step away from football for a minute. Dick Allen and Dave Parker elected to the Hall of Fame by a classic era committee.
I know all
Was
the
that
YouTube
just
videos.
now? Today?
It was today. Yeah, today. I was actually scanning it as he mentioned it. I went and looked. So it said, they revealed it today. They revealed the results today.
Well, that's two guys. A lot of people, a lot of fans of those two guys right there, and I'm happy for both of them. They're great contributors to the sport.
Yeah, I know anyone I talk to of a little older age, all talk about Dave Parker, how good he was.
Yeah, the Cobra. He is special with that We Are Family team in Pittsburgh during the 70s. Dick Allen is a classic, he didn't get along with everybody. That's probably what held him out this long. But I hate when I hear stuff like that, and I don't want to get off subject, but like with Schilling and stuff, I want to know what they did on the field. I don't care the other shit. But because if that's the case, then they need to go in there and start removing people out of all the Hall of Fames. If that's the case, they're not going to do that. So, that drives me crazy. But yeah, I was just trying because in our hobby, it's all about the rookies. Who's the hot rookies? This, that, and the other. And especially in football, it takes a few years for guys to get traction in the league. Especially wide receiver, they sometimes they get, like you said, gets lost in the shuffle. Sometimes they just need to find their way, and because it takes a little bit more than just being a great talent. You got to have that it factor out there. So, are you? Let's see. This past week, you got a great some great gifts from. I can't remember the person's name, but first off, you got that double auto, the running backs from 72.
Yeah, from Brian Hodges.
Brian Hodges gave me that. That was really, I love my autos, and I love those type of pictures like that.
That was an awesome photo.
Just killing it. And Carlos, the doc over here, he's doing his his dentist thing, and Rosen and all his other crazy stuff that he collects. Anything else, Carlos, that you are going after, or with your any of the stars? Are you still trying to get? I know you're really narrowed down on what you get from Madonna.
Yeah, well, it's still the same save searches are still there. I've got a couple of things that'll be coming in. Canada Post thing put a bit of a damper on a couple of things that were supposed to come in the mail, but I do have a couple of courier packages. That was the message that I saw, and it made me laugh. I was like, it's all true. But yeah, I've got the regular save searches, and then I've got a ship my cards thing that is going to be coming in next week. There's going to be a ComC package that's going to be coming in as well. So there'll be a mix of different stuff in there. I'll still get Medano stuff. There'll be some in that package, and there'll be some in the ship my cards thing as well when that shows up. But it's just picking and choosing stuff that is interesting to me.
Right.
The wrestling PC stuff is good. Some of the vintage projects have been slower, but I've made some progress on them. I actually was looking at the goals from last year, and I think out of 8 things I had on there, I've accomplished 6 of them. So that's pretty good. That's most of those goals are pretty reasonable. They were doable.
Right.
And I actually did finish when I get that ship my cards one. I actually had a UFC set that I was working on that I finally finished. So that's the last item I needed for that one. So I've got a full set that I'll be able to showcase when I get that in. It's a very nice set.
I remember you talking about that now. Yeah, because you're saying that one of them you can't find or have never seen or whatever.
I'm pretty sure it's on the checklist, but I don't think the card was ever made.
Right. It probably one of those waiting for him to sign it type of deal.
It could be, yeah. But as far as I can tell, I've never seen one live, and I've had that save search literally for 5 years. I'd like to just see the card. I just like to see a picture. Somebody confirm for me its existence. But so as far as I'm concerned, I'm taking it off the checklist until someone can prove to me it's real.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Pete Alonso clear. The clear cards from his rookie year, I really don't think they ever made them, but I've never seen one. And for you, Brad, Blue Jackets, Miami. I've seen you get some chunky patches this past couple of weeks and some really nice stuff coming in. I know you look for more quality than you do anything else. You've talked about that at the National and on here before.
Yeah.
You're very focused on what you're looking for. When you're looking for stuff, are you looking for stuff that catches your eye or low number, or is it a mixture of both? Or what
I would say right now, if you did my favorite thing to look at is the game used patches from like 03 to 2015. Because the stuff's going to go bye-bye. You're not going to see it. We've already seen it with any new product in the last 5 years.
Right.
So that's the stuff I am willing to bid more than I used to, or yeah, maybe I thought 100 in my brain, I'll go 120, or whatever.
Mhm.
That's the main thing right now, I would say, that it seems like I've noticed I've been researching, putting on the wild list, bidding on.
Yeah,
And
because
then Chasing Cardboard got the guy who lived in
right,
Ohio. And I'm like, oh man, if I could have got there first, right?
right.
Because he got that thing for a steal, like 11,000.
Well, we know,
just based on what he's listing, and I'm like, that's 30 grand worth of stuff, easy,
right.
easy. That's just the good stuff, But because I'm sure that guy went off what he paid for it 10, 15 years ago, and that number would have been perfect, for that range. But I don't think he realized what that stuff's worth now,
Right.
Like I
Yeah,
saw a
'cause-
Zonka patch to Tingo for $156. That was a $45 card in 2012. So get an idea.
Yeah, because I like when you do videos, I always interested to go, man, for you to pull the trigger on something, it's not going to be a base card or, it could be if it's nice enough.
And that's the one thing I want people to understand too. Like I appreciate all that stuff.
Right.
I do.
Right.
But it's like time and money wise, I don't want to, let's just say, go on COMC, pick out 50 Dan Marino cards they don't have that I would like.
Right.
And then this rare patch to 10 pops up and I have no money because I bought those.
Right.
Or I can't go after it because I bought those.
And I got to say, that's what I like about both of you guys. Y'all try to stay very strict on what you're doing. When I watch Carlos' video, I know exactly what he's collecting. And for collectors you don't have to appreciate somebody else what they're collecting. It's how they're collecting is what, and how they're enthusiastic about it. That's what I like to try to pick up, because I've used parts of what everybody else is doing to influence how I collect. I've really narrowed down, and it's really helped my quality of what I'm getting. I don't, none of us are at least I know of, are independently wealthy. We probably might be okay, but
we'll see how Bitcoin does this month. We'll see how Bitcoin does.
Wait for the Bitcoin.
I'll get back to you.
I'm waiting on my NFTs to hit, and then I wish I would have done this a long time ago, but I grew up at a time when it was easy to collect all. In the 80s, there was only 3 different,
Right, you could collect everything. Right.
Yeah, you could get all 3 sets or multiples of whatever, and that's what you did. And I had that mindset for so long. And,
when people ask me what they should collect, which I hate that question.
I do too.
But I'm like, well, what are you trying to do? If you're trying to make money, go after solid gold, prism parallels, prism refractors. Stick with the solid blues, golds, solid red. Do not pick up shimmers. Do not pick up starburst, whatever. Don't do that stuff if you're in it long term, especially for money value. Do not do that. So it's like, but a collector wise, I'm like, well, let me give you these 2 cards. Which one do you enjoy more? Which one does it for you?
Right.
That's how you decide. But so it depends on who asked, but I hate that question. I don't know. I'm sure. You said you
and I've talked about it this last few weeks is, enjoy the journey on learning what you want to collect too. Right. That's part of the hobby. Like that's the huge part of the hobby. You're going to make mistakes. This is not a mistake-free hobby zone. I mean, you're going to make mistakes however you look at it, but you're going to get some wins too. And the wins way overshadow what losses. That's true.
I know Eric would agree with me there. Yep.
Yeah. So, there's a part of me that we got way too many parallels right now. But man, is it fun collecting, getting rainbows and stuff, as long as it's not breaking the piggy bank, right?
Scott, spoken like a man who needs people. There can never be too many parallels. Silence. I will hear none of that heresy. That's nonsense. That's foolishness and idiocy. How dare you?
Yeah. So, and that gets to, and the reason why I want to ask y'all how y'all collect and everything, when you get into the title of tonight's thing is, man, we have been just onslaught with in community with baseball vintage, and I love it because that's where yeah, they do. I love looking at the old stuff. I don't collect a lot of it, but I do have very tight stuff that I collect in the vintage world. But my thought process, and I think these cards are pretty cards, good looking cards. I love the old looking logos of football teams and hockey teams and basketball. Why are we not seeing more vintage football, especially because football has kind of taken over as the big sport in our country? I know it doesn't have the history that football does. I haven't seen a Burns, collection of videos yet on the history of football. I'm sure they're coming if somebody tells it. But in y'all's mind, what is the hold up, or why have we not seen the vintage world jump over to football as much as we have?
Brad, you want first crack at this? Because I got answers.
Well, I'll let you go first. We'll see if I have any of the same. You go first.
So the thing is that you literally just touched on it at the very beginning with the Ken Burns thing. I actually have read a lot of different books on NFL history and the history of the NFL, and it's fascinating. It really is. It's actually very interesting. And if you look at some of the cast of characters and ne'er-do-wells who were involved in the early days of the NFL, some interesting folk, and there's a lot of it. One of the things, and I've had this conversation in the past, is that the NFL is a victim of its own success in a certain way, but part of it is that the NFL, unlike baseball, whereas I can look at baseball in the 1800s as its own beast, but once you get into kind of the World Series era, which starts in 1903, you're fairly consistent. There are teams that move, teams that change locations, different eras, all that is part of it. But football has like 46 eras, or it feels like it, because the football of the 1920s has no bearing on the football of the 1940s. It has no bearing on the football of the 1950s or 1960s. The Super Bowl era is a completely different thing. When television takes over, it's a completely different thing. The 60s era has nothing to do with the 70s. The 70s has nothing to do with the 80s, when Dan Marino rewrites the record book. It has nothing to do with the 90s, which things change again, into the 2000s, into the internet era. So literally, you could break it up into like dozens of different time periods, and every single one of them it feels different. Just watching the games feels different, even though the teams exist, and you've got some weird quirks. But then go to vintage football. You may recognize the players, you may not recognize the players. You can dig into it, you can learn about it, but the game those guys were playing is different than the game you're watching on Sunday night right now. Like I'm watching over, I've got it over on the other screen here. That has nothing to do with what was going on in 1955. Nothing. The only thing it has in common is the name football, and there's a football involved. That's about the only thing it has in common.
Two AFL teams here playing,
which didn't exist in 1955. AFL didn't exist. Right. So that's the point. So you had to have a couple of leagues. And by the way, if you go back to the 20s, there were more leagues that were competing with the NFL.
Yeah.
So you could go all the way back to so there's a lot of different things that happened, and you kept trying to do it. And I'll touch on those back pages here with the point he's making there we talked about the NBA thing. So vintage basketball, the problem it has is that there was a lack of sets. There was these gigantic gaps. Now, if you go outside mainstream, sure, fine, whatever. Regional sets and all food issues, great. But if you're talking about mainstream sets, you go 48 Bowman to 57, 58. So you jump from George Mikan to Bill Russell and Bob Cousy. Then you jump to 61 Will Chamberlain and the other rookies that are in that set. And then you jump to the late 60s. There's no consistency. It never had a chance to develop. And then you've got a gap in the 80s where Star produced cards because the tops didn't even bother with the license. The NBA Finals was on tape delay. But if you're talking the NFL, though, at least the sport was consistent. But it still wasn't the same sport. I can literally look at the guys there, and you could talk about somebody who was a quarterback and a place kicker. All kinds of weird stuff. That doesn't have any resemblance to today's sport. So that hurts it in a certain way because it feels different.
Go ahead, Brad.
Well, I'm going to say something that most people are afraid to say. You know why vintage football kind of doesn't sell? Because most of the cards suck.
Ooh.
Okay. I mean, look at these cards. I'll give you.
I like spicy, Brad. I might need a second beer for this. Go on.
Okay. Now, there's a couple sets that look nice. But it's like baseball, the 50s, almost all the 50 sets look amazing, right? In baseball. Football sets have like 3 sets that look good. Take this 69 tops I'm looking at in my case here of Larry Zonka. His face is deformed. The Dolphin logo is all weird. It's a pink background. It's a hideous card.
It was the 60s, Brad. There were a lot of psychedelics. What do you want, man?
Okay? I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I'm proud to have it, and I have an amazing copy of it. It is a crap card. Okay? A 71 tops right next to it. Kind of ugly. Not going to lie. Happy to have him. Jake Scott, Mercury Morris, Jim Kick rookies. No one appreciates those guys any more than I do. Cards kind of suck. Okay? I'm just telling you what it is. And then the second one, Carlos already touched on it. The history of it, number one, a lot of these guys aren't in the record books.
Yep.
So, like, look up Johnny Unitas. How long do you have to go till you find him on the passing yards list? You know, because the game has changed so much.
Yeah.
Same with receivers. You know, like Don Hudson's one of the greatest ones ever. Right? Who's going to know that? It's not going to show, you know, in the record books. It's not going to show that he's one of the greats. It's going to show that he was like a mid-tier wide receiver, you know? So that's the other problem as well.
Yeah.
But, Paul, name me multiple sets that look amazing. I don't think you can do it.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Scandalous. I love it. Go on.
Okay. So, you know, I ask somebody, hey, you didn't see these guys. Why do you collect vintage baseball? And the first thing that comes out of their mouth, history. What did y'all just both talk about? The history was different. How far back you want to go to Unitas? Jim Brown, all these great running backs of their time. You never hear, y'all are discounting the history where in baseball we are accounting for the history. Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, you embrace it. And it's because they're still there. You know, the records or they're at least right up there, you know, even if it gets broken. Outside of running backs, nothing's up there, you know, for the NFL. But, yeah, like 48 leaf, that looks like garbage too. I mean, I'm sorry. And I want to love them. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not a hate. I'm just being honest. Most of these cards are not aesthetically pleasing. You are buying them because they're old.
Yeah, because you just don't hear people going, oh, I'm collecting the NFL Hall of Famers. I have yet to see it or hear a channel tell me this yet. And I hear...
Well, Paul literally collects the NFL Hall of Famers.
I know, and I know Paul does. I see Paul. Paul is an outlier. And that was another point. It seems like when I do see it being collected, it's by collectors. You're never going to hear much value spoken. When I was living in the Midwest, when I first moved out there, football was king. Green Bay Packers, Bears, and vintage with those teams was huge because they just had so many Hall of Famers. But it didn't take long for the modern card to this modern influence took over the world, especially in the basketball and football and that. But then it just seems like it's a badge of honor to say I collect vintage baseball, right? It's like I collect vintage baseball, but I don't see that in the football. Paul does it, and Paul, I got to meet Paul through Carlos last year watching the football games, World of Knowledge. And, you know, I don't see that same type of thing. And I don't mean anything against anybody because I collect that. I don't call myself any type of collector. I collect.
Oh, I think Scott's is courting the trolling side is taking over. That's what I think is happening. That's what I see. Like, no, I think he means mean things. Go on, Scott. I'll support you in this endeavor. Go
on. So that's my question is like, that's what I got to was like, you know, I got to thinking last week. And I also, when I saw Chris from Missouri and his passion on his video this week, talking about how he's even collecting modern baseball and some of the bigger players now because they're stars. Because I think people like to collect stuff that they feel like, okay, if I do have to sell this next week, I can basically get my money back. And I understand that there's a lot to that. You're going to spend a lot of money into something. You don't want to lose your shirt. And I understand that. So I feel for that, but I don't see the same thing in other sports. And that's kind of where I'm at right now is like, why are we doing it? Why is it this way? I mean, when you go to shows, you see some vintage stuff because I have some names in vintage other sports that are on my list. Football and basketball. I don't watch modern basketball, but I grew up where, I feel like when basketball was saved, Larry Bird and Magic. But there was great players before them as well. And man, I feel like football what better time where football was 50s, 60s, and 70s where the guys you got guys that they had to make special rules for head slapping and stuff like that. That's what better. You got Lester Hayes walking around with glue from his head to his toes. The Raiders guys just dipping their hands in that muck over there that they had sticking on everything. It was a lot of characters, and I just don't hear the same way that I do. Because when I think of football, I go straight to the characters of the past, people playing, young blood for the Rams playing with a broken leg in the Super Bowl, stuff like that. I just find fascinating.
So I think you're kind of describing though, basically. So when Bowman 53 did his series on the 53 Bowman color cards, that's the kind of thing that would be on videos talking about some of the more common guys or semi-star guys. In baseball, that's romanticized a lot. You like the story behind it, that's fine. But Brad touched on it. Like you talk about Johnny Unitas, probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But then, so I've actually got the list in front of me. So if you go look at the passing yards, all-time passing yards, Johnny Unitas currently is 25th on that list. But there are people on here that, all right, fine, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. There's your top four. Okay, fine. Most people can be reasonably accepting of that. And I could go through this list, and there's some names that you'd be accepting of. But guys still that are ahead of him. Brad's favorite quarterback, Kirk Cousins, is ahead of him.
Exactly.
Kirk Cousins is ahead of him. How about Kerry Collins? How do you feel about Kerry Collins? He's also ahead of Johnny Unitas. How about Vinny Testaverde? How about Carson Palmer? They're both ahead of him. In fact, Carson Palmer is a good 6,000 yards ahead of him. It's not like we have 5 yards. He's like 6,000 yards. So tell me about. So Carson Palmer is obviously way better a quarterback all time, right?
Right.
Or maybe the sport changed to allow
the same game.
Yeah. So when Mickey Mantle retired, he had like 536 home runs. I don't remember the exact numbers. But feel free to. It's somewhere in the 530s, I think. The point is, he was right in the top 3 all time in terms of home runs. He has been surpassed, but not surpassed by the likes of Carson Palmer or Kerry Collins, or the baseball equivalent. It has to be guys that are a little bit higher up on the totem pole. Again, Brady's at the top, Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. Those guys make sense. We kind of get that. Well, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it tains, and again, to be devil's advocate in the way I feel, a little bit of devil in me.
Please defend Carson Palmer. Let's go.
No, I'm not going to.
Kerry Collins, your boy?
Johnny U a little bit. Well, I am in Carolina. Johnny U a little bit is when I think Ice Bowl, I think of toughness. I think of Baltimore Colts. That's the things. I think of football differently than I do the other sports for that reason. I mean, do we not think that Jim Brown is one of the greatest running backs ever? I mean, and he's been passed. I mean, we know the game has changed. And I think people that know football know. I mean, Fran Tarkin in it was one of the greatest passers ever. And I mean, Dan Marino broke his record. Now Dan Marino's been passed by everybody. It's like, I don't know. I look at it differently. And again, I understand. I know why people don't collect vintage football. the value is not there. It doesn't hold value like baseball does.
Brad already told us the cards are ugly, and you know
The
you're out here.
cards are
Someone
ugly.
had to say it.
People don't know the names of players in the 60s and 70s. You don't have
Jerry
people
Hellman is hurt feelings right there. Hurt feelings right there,
Yeah,
Brad.
that
Hurt
card-
feelings.
You
Not
can
that-
name Packers Hall of Famers and people won't know them. And I mean, I bet you there's people that you go to any show and they won't know who Dick Butkus is, right? It's just,
But they
football
will
names.
giggle when you say the name, though.
Yes.
yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, I think, and that, and Darren Fouts. I mean, that Chargers team with Muncie and
And Scott, you just
Winslow.
wait another season or two. An all-time great, the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, will also surpass Johnny Unitas. He's only 700 yards behind him. He's 2 good games away from passing Johnny Unitas.
I think he needs to be a quarterback coach. I think he's helped a lot of young players, but I digress. But I that's my feeling, is that the value is not there. Baseball holds their value. You buy Johnny Unitas, and first off, you can probably get it relatively cheap, comparatively speaking. I know at one point you can get a Walter Payton rookie, pretty cheap. I was looking today at some Jim Brown's. I think a high graded one was like around 12 grand. Now that was early on in today, where you're getting closer to the end of the thing auction. But I can afford a lower grade very easily.
And if you had bought it a couple of years ago, you would have been able to afford it very easily.
Yeah, I probably would have sold it, because I know when I first looked at one 6 years ago, just like when I bought my Dr. J rookie and other stuff, because I laugh. I look at these basketball players, and you can get a Dr. J rookie for a couple $100, and these guys now, that thousands of dollars come out of the pack and ain't done shit. I still have issues with that, and I think a lot of us, people that been around for a while, or not even a while, been around just sports, try to scratch our head over that. But that was the kind of the point. I wanted to hear y'all too. I know Carlos has a great background in knowing his vintage, Brad, and vintage.
I just dumbed it down for you, Scott. It's basically what I did.
Thank you. And I need all the dumbing down I can get to keep me, on the rails. Because I really do.
Send your hate to Brad 8671, but then you're off the list.
No,
So be very careful. Be real careful. Tread lightly.
Brad knows I love him. He gets a hug every national from me. So are you going to a national this year?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I got my ticket this week.
I did
Just
too.
to let everybody know, if you're driving, the VIP ticket does not include a parking
I
pass.
noticed that. Yeah.
Just to let everybody, you got to get the super duper VIP pass to get the parking pass, which I thought was ridiculous. So, I mean, how much money are they making? And then are you staying in a hotel?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it at the Crown Plaza.
Oh, did you? Lucky bitch. We tried, but you couldn't get 2. Right now, if you want to get 2, you got to call them. And I don't think you're going to get across the street. You're going to we got a house again, 10 minutes away.
Yeah, it's nuts. You used to be able to go up to like April or May and get stuff around there.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have it by Thanksgiving, you're not getting it.
Dude, we tried to get it the week of last year's, and we couldn't. They got so many. I mean, they opened a new area for vendors.
Yeah.
Like they're adding the upstairs
Yeah.
for vendors. So, the vendors got all the hotel rooms. And I'm sure Eric's got probably got a VIP tops. You got to get the special code to get up there. My 2 big pickups at the National this year were Unitas rookie card and Bill Dudley Bowman card. who is an NFL Hall of Famer from University of Virginia, Scott. Yep, I know who Bill Dudley is. And, I'm not saying that people don't collect vintage. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, why do we not see more channels? Why do we
it's not celebrated?
Yeah, it is not. People don't walk around and go, "Hey, look at this old football card." Now, when I see
Brad already told us they're all ugly. They're hideous. Oh my god, I can't even look at it. Brad's right. I need to burn this shit while I still can.
I bought the player, not the card. If that makes sense. I bought Larry Zonka because it's his rookie card, not because I liked it.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet.
That's all I'm saying with a lot of these cards. And these are cards I own.
I know I was right there with Brad, standing 2 feet away when he bought the one he got, I think, most excited with at the National, and it was a cleat card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So,
But now if you go to the National the next time, you'll see Brad. If Brad has to buy a vintage card, you'll see him put down the welding mask and then slip that down so he doesn't have to look directly at it. Avert your eyes while you still can.
Give it to me.
Oh my God, please. He's like, what about eye appeal? How am I going to know about eye appeal if I can't look? I don't even want to look at it.
It's like the sun.
It's hideous.
Here's my thing. But if he bought the Bob Gibson Pepto-Bismol rookie card, he'd be like, "Hey, look at what I got."
Right.
Maybe he's really into Pepto-Bismol. The commercials sold him on it. What do you want, man?
That's all I'm saying.
I just appreciate I appreciate the direction this took, and I thank you, Brad. Yeah. I thank you. It's like you opened the door for me. Like, this is what I'm here for.
I'm glad
this is all I needed.
Dumbing Down Things for Scott. That's going to be my new channel name. Welcome to Dumbing Down Things for Scott.
Yeah, we're going to get in this deep conversation. No, they're just ugly.
I would just dribbling out of me.
Oh, don't give exceptions now, Brad. Stop. Don't even. Just go with it. They're all hideous. They're trash. We hate them.
It's probably a 90% clip.
Yeah, at least.
I like the old 50s cards where the guys are sitting there. I'm always collecting linemen, right? I like lineman cards. So they're, sitting there. I got rid of almost all my football cards except for Virginia guys and rookies, big rookies. Like I got my Marino rookie and Elway. I don't have a Montana.
Do you have a nice Larry Allen, Scott?
A Larry Allen?
Yes.
I do have a nice Larry Allen.
I said, do you have a nice Larry Allen?
I do not have a Larry Allen rookie. I have some Larry Allens, but not a rookie. I have Ed Too Tall in 9. I got his rookie card auto and just base. I got his rookie card, but I got Zach Martin. I don't have Larry Allen though. Now that you said that, always I love my
beast, an athletic beast too. Like he looked fat, but the guy could run.
Yes.
It was awesome.
I have a Leon Lett rookie card.
I just appreciate that you made a distinction between when you said beast, you made a distinction between athletic beast as opposed to a cannibal beast, like he ate human flesh. Like, what are we talking about? What's the alternative here?
Well,
actually, I like my offensive lineman.
Yeah, sometimes you think phone book guy. You know what I mean? Like you looked at him and you're like, you spent a lot of time on the couch. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
And then you have the guys. It's like
Zach Martin's kind of like that. Zach Martin looks like he should not be playing football.
Oh, yeah, and both can be good, but he passed all the tests. He had you wanted the big guys back then, and he could run.
Yeah, his wingspan was about 8 foot wide. So you won't get in the edge. You're going to get the punch in the side. Yeah. But, yeah, he had quick feet, too. Love that. But, yeah, and that's the one thing about modern football cards that drive me crazy is they don't do complete team sets like they do in other sports. It really drives that really irritates me because I like the offensive lineman. So that's what I want to collect. I don't want the field goal kicker that's a rookie. I can care less. I have my Raphael Septions.
And to answer Dr. Exclusive question,
Yeah. So
80 makes it easy to remember, but I always think of it as like I see as Joe Montana's rookie card as the last vintage card.
as a what?
As the last, what I would consider like vintage.
Vintage.
And then back, and that was
Right.
81.
Well, that was another thing that, what, Carlos, what do you consider vintage for any sport? Where do you?
Well, baseball vintage for me was always like 79 and before. That was always in baseball. But see, Brad, if you had wanted to go this angle, you could have. You could have said the Joe Montana one because in 82, they went back to being licensed.
See, so I had the right answer, but I didn't have it for the right reason.
See, this is why, Scott, I got you. I got you. I got you.
All right. Yeah, because this thing with the vintage too drives me crazy with where we drawing lines in the sand, and it just it's just all over the place.
Scott,
So
I
in
think the
hockey,
key
where
is you
you're
got to
going-
use your platform. You got to use your platform here, and I think you need to come up with a different number. So I think what you should do: 57 tops football here. This is ultra modern, and anything after that,
Yeah, I
super
like that
duper
card.
ultra
Do
modern.
you
Yeah,
not like
and that, well, I was going to say that's 57, right?
right?
That's 57.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That was one of the sets I didn't mind. But the problem is there's no dolphins to collect in 1957.
It is a
Okay.
problem.
So that
They hadn't
comes
invent- they
back
hadn't
to the
invented
thing
fish
we
back
talked
then.
about before.
See, that's why men were men back then. They hadn't even invented fish yet. They didn't. You can't have dolphins. You don't even have fish. Not even invented.
What's up, Warren? Let's rip some 91 Pro line. I'm not Brad, but it's probably 1980 Montana rookies. Probably the distinction for football.
Oh,
yeah.
so there you go. So we were on the same page.
Paul, we had Eric baseball 1980 was the end of the Topps first monopoly.
Yeah, that would be a good. You could
What's up,
legitimately
Minky?
use that as your cutoff if you want to. You could legit.
Right.
So for me, I just go back to kind of the traditional, like when I was growing up at that time, 79 and before for me was kind of my cutoff. But if you want to include 1980 in there, that's not an unreasonable thing. Some guys would always make the angle. They'd say 72 was the last set because that was the last time Topps was issued in series. So if you want, but you usually have a reason. There's usually a reason for that cutoff. 73 was done as a one series. So the complete series was available in the packs. 72 and before, you'd have the high numbers because you'd have the multiple series. I always thought like 75 Topps is still a vintage card to me. Like I'm still very comfortable calling that a vintage card.
Yeah.
79 was kind of my cutoff, but if you want to use 1980 with the Ricky rookie that year, sure. Why not?
Yeah. And
fine.
now people want to call the 80s vintage. I'm like, we got to come up with another name because it's just starting to be pretty soon everything's going to be vintage and in a couple of decades of modern, and we just got to wait for PSA to call us something new because that's what it seems like we're waiting on.
I was actually just going to say that. We'll wait for PSA to decide.
Wait for PSA, and then then we'll be straight. So anything to add? I think we kind of ran this one. It had some fun tonight with this.
Oh, Scott, we barely scratched the surface. We're talking
I
some
was
deep.
gonna say.
Listen, there's some more vintage sets that Brad could slander. Like I got all night for this. Don't even worry about that.
Mangini's in here now.
We're barely even warmed up.
Like
We're barely even warmed up. Scott, don't you try to put your 1 hour time cap on me, sir. You settle down. You stay right there because there's more opportunities for entertainment here.
That era differently, even with Peyton winning the 85, he's thought of 70s player. There's only a decent price acceleration 70s or prior 80s plus. Okay. They better not be calling Nirvana vintage rock now. That's actually defines an era of music is grunge. Without Nirvana, I don't know if you have grunge.
Well, I have an idea for a future topic of your show, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is something I'm hearing a lot now, that they want more people in the hobby and more cards. And more. Am I the only one that wants less cards and for it to be actually more of an exclusive thing?
Ooh, you
I don't
elitist.
want. No, but like, do I really want 1 million copies of something printed? I don't. I don't
So you're
want
saying
everyone
more
to have the
parallels
card
is
I
what I'm
have.
hearing.
No,
So what we need is a million parallels, and each one is a
what I
one.
want is less product, but it's not realistic.
So you're saying what was your topic
So
again?
my thing is, so I guess, do you want everyone to be able to have the card they want? So the rookie of Pete Alonso, do you want everyone that wants one to be able to have one?
The base rookie?
Yeah.
Do you want the peasant Scott to own a Pete Alonso that you have?
That's the way it's always been. Is in the flagship, everybody pretty much could get a flagship card.
So, like I said, this might be controversial, but I don't think I want everyone to be able to own a Pete Alonso rookie. You see what I'm saying?
Now, when it comes to autos
That's
or
just an
something
example,
special,
yeah.
because I mean,
But like, and it makes these cards mean more that you have it. It's not even a price thing, even. You know,
yeah. But for me, I'm happy I have it, and I don't care if somebody else has it. That's how I am. So, like, you're telling me in 1984, I got the Mattingly, and maybe
wouldn't it be nice if you were only one of 5,000 people that had the Mattingly?
Like the
whatever number of percentages we would make of the product.
I don't know. I don't think so. I like the idea. The one thing I do like, everybody wants to poo-poo on the 90s and call it the whatever, the crap. I think we're still in a.
I don't recall it being called the crap. I think it was the junk wax era. Sure.
Scott
secretly went into a much darker place, but all right, go on.
I think we're still in the junk wax era. I talked about it before. I know Eric is going to call me out on it. There's different ways to put numbers on things. If it's being graded, pop count, actual coming from the manufacturer, whatever. I don't care if everybody has a card of that person. I want one, and it's easier for me to get if there's more copies of it. But there is fun chasing.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying like make them to 10. I'm just saying instead of printing
11 at least.
Well, we'll say 500,000 of the base rookie of whoever's hot. Do we print 75,000 or 100,000? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you do have that in certain sets. You're just not going to have that in the flagship. And that's what I call the rookie card. And that's the only one I collect as a rookie card is the flagship base. Everything else is like, there's certain players I will collect more for. Like I am collecting more Skeens. I'm picking up more Ronnie Mauricio for the Mets because I think I'm intrigued on how we're going to treat him this year in the hobby. He didn't play last year for the Mets, but his rookie card was last year for the Mets. He was out all season. Hopefully his knee's good to play this year because we need him at second or third. But, there's certain players, and Pete Alonso is a great, example. But, yes, I am happy. Like, my biggest hunt out of all – what's up, Warren? See you later, Warren. Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hey, Eric, I ain't wasting money. I'm having fun with my money. It's the same way as going to the movies or, whatever. I'll probably have to pay money to go see Wicked, but, probably a terrible movie, but, I think my mom wants to go, so I'll probably have to go home and take her. But, I feel like for me, the chase for me is like the shorter print stuff. There is in 2019 at the Chicago show, they did 3 to 50 autos was given away at the Tops thing. I got one of them that weekend, and I found one other one, but I'm not going to pay the ransom for it right now because it's graded. I'm not going to pay the 10 PSA ransom for it. Right. I got the first one very cheap because luckily the guy didn't know what he had, didn't know really much about Pete Alonso at that time. And he felt like when he sold it to me, I was stealing it from him, and I probably did in retrospect, but it's sitting right behind me. I have plenty of Matt Harveys, Eric. I just haven't. I'm not going out of my way to spend a lot of money on skis. I'm picking them up cheap when I can. And a lot of them are just base of whatever. I mean, we have so many different sets now, and I'm with a lot of people where I think we have too much printed going on. I would not be mad if it was less, but what does less mean? We don't know how much they're really printing.
Well, and this is where it comes. I guess what my ultimate point is going to be is: do we really want to grow the hobby that much?
Ooh, you're eloquent. Point.
Because think about it like a business. You go to this business for 20 years. Eventually, it catches on. They get bigger, right? And the experience is not the same as they get bigger. And you wish, man, this place was a lot better before it grew 100%.
Yeah.
So at what point are we kind of like, the hobby's a decent size now? This is just something no one ever talks about. But
Well,
I'm like, everyone's like, well, let's make the hobby bigger. And I'm like,
I'm hearing Brad saying, get rid of the peasants. And I'm on board here. I'm co-signing with Brad.
I will find a video and reload it for you from where I have this same video before COVID. I think it was a year before COVID when everything just started, and you heard these battle cries from certain channels about, oh, we are mainstream now and corporations and we're on the news. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for. When people of money start looking at what's going on over here, usually the people that are at the bottom rungs are left behind while the everybody else is, you know what I'm saying? Right now, I am not buying wax. It's just not, it is not worth it. The entertainment value, I buy it for entertainment value. It is not there. And when I tell you that I don't resell it. Now I'm reselling it because I'm trying to do other stuff. But my gosh, my boy Mike O's reselling stuff. It's just, it's tough. And it's, for me, it's not fun opening up. I opened up like 3 boxes of chrome at the last Chicago. I think there was 5 or 6, 7 boxes opened up in our house. And it was just all of us. I think the best thing that was hit was a Volpe rookie auto. It was just not fun because it was all base. It wasn't even really inserts. It wasn't any just basic color. You might get 1 or 2 color cards in the box. It was just, that is not fun. No. And back to what I was saying about the 90s was, yes, we had Pinnacle, Pacific, all these different companies, but that's what made it better. When you don't see any of the cards that you've seen before. Hitman 23 opened something today from a friend and was like, man, we just don't see these types of cards anymore because they don't have to do it. Look at Prism. Has Prism really changed in the last 10 years? It looks the same. Topps Chrome, other than they change a little border, they don't do anything. They just
you're kind of leaving out one thing, Scott. You're leaving out the part where Pinnacle went out of business. You're talking about the ones the manufacturers you're talking about all went out of business.
And I understand that, but they still made it competitive, and they went
and
out
then
of the
went
box.
out of business, and then went out of business.
That. They made
you will when they go out of business and they're gone anyway.
If they all go out of business tomorrow, Carlos, you don't think there's any cards to collect?
But Scott, then it doesn't matter. Then there's no reason to change anything. You're complaining about you want to change something, and then you said a moment ago, if they don't make any more cards, then it doesn't matter.
I'm just trying to answer.
You can't make both sides of this argument at the same time.
I can't, and I will, and I'm winning.
No, you're not. You've lost both sides of the argument.
My whole thing is, yes, you're one of those companies failed. But man, did they
all of them basically failed.
Right. But they made a difference. They did. Competitiveness. At the same time, the West, but right now, I feel like we know now what Topps or Fanatics meant by 10Xing. They didn't mean by 10Xing how many people are collecting. They're 10Xing their bank account. And
I would like to know, other than the obvious large channels, who I can go back in my live stream where I said 10x only means dollars. Who
oh, I know you
cares?
said it.
If
Yeah.
if there's one guy who collects and spends $1 trillion, that's better than 100 million collectors spending $10. It's
But
math.
I said it before. Once you start making a hobby or anything so big that draws eyes and attention to it, bring it out of the darkness, corporations are coming right behind it. People with money.
He's Cape David Rogers?
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
Yeah.
I'm
I
excited.
mean, like everybody, oh, these guys collect like we do. No, they don't collect like we do. They have a lot more money than we do. They purchase things and put it in a vault. They don't collect like we do.
What I do with my Josh Rosen is none of your business, sir.
That's right. So don't give me this bullshit that they collect like we do. They don't collect like we do. That's bullshit. So
yeah, fired up. I like it.
huh?
Brad, I was hoping. I was getting excited. It was getting good. It was just getting good.
All right, I think that
I was
was
like,
all
yes,
the lines,
let's
Scott.
go.
I had for you.
See, that's why I was like, Psh, you're not cutting it off in an hour.
But
This is just getting good.
Back to like flagship. I don't care if they print that around the moon and back for everybody to get one. But don't sit there and jack the price up and then jack the price up and put chase cards in it. Like I saw a thing today where somebody put on there where I'm in somewhere in Ohio and they wanted to know where they can go to a card shop to buy John Elway, the John Elway card in a box. And they don't understand, whoever it was didn't have an understanding, like your chances of getting that card is like none. You're just throwing money away. And I mean, baseball draft came out. It's $1,000 a jumbo box. Tell me one player in it. God, I mean, come on. I used to love buying Bowmix. I love college baseball.
Oh yeah, you could buy what they used to call them flats for like $70.
Yes, and now it's like, what are you doing? I got me fired up. Anyway,
We'll see you.
yeah, but you know what?
Good job, Brad. Good job.
I still love it. I still, I sit here. I got, if you looked over here, saw my wall of cards, and I just find other things. Me and Eric a couple weeks ago, I've been, I did pick up some WNBA blasters. I picked up some hockey SP that I found in the Walmart for this year, or no, last year's, which has just come out this year. I just find other ways. I don't open as much. I open up a little bit of Star Wars when I find it, and that's it. And I buy singles and have fun. I have been buying singles this week. I bought stuff from Miko, support my brother on his channel. He's been busy. So what about Mike Trout? I know you did a video on Eric. Let's don't get Carlos fired up.
Listen, easily, not, just outside of the top two Fish last name outfielders that play for the Angels. Tim Salmon, number one. I'm sure we can think of somebody else. Then maybe Mike Trout.
Yeah, a lot of Salmon is the number one Fish guy. I'm still a Trout guy, but
he's no Tim Salmon.
That's right. I remember just bashing the ball with him in triple play baseball back in the day for Sega Genesis.
Amazing.
That was a good game. I have it. So,
big fan. I love it.
We're going to end it there. I'm done. I'm
sorry. I shouldn't have brought up the last one.
No, I'm glad you did.
That was the best part, Brad. That was the best part.
Oh, the reason people
that's
are
why I cracked open a second
1,000
beer. I was like, let's go.
I got you, Eric. Okay, because of his auto, his first card auto, whatever the hell is in there. It still doesn't matter. It's still ridiculous. I mean, but see, Fanatics knows. They know the business. They know if I sell tennis shoes and I put different colors in the 5 different places in the mall that sell tennis shoes, then people will go to every one of those stores to get the 5 different colors. That's how they sell tennis. They're taking the same marketing plan for selling T-shirts and tennis shoes and applying it to the cards. I knew this was going to happen, And I told people to don't watch what you're wishing for. They're already controlling how they want stuff sold in brick and mortar. Yeah, that's right, Eric. Addicts are going to addict. And that's just how it is going to be. And we're just going to have to live with that. And we'll wait for the breakers to break it and buy the singles. Because I don't know who else is buying it at $1,000 a pop. Holy shit. What do you
Well,
get?
again, I'll get back to you after the Bitcoin thing, after we've got it all figured out. Like, work in progress. Work in progress.
And again, this is the people that can buy it. And then the rest of us, just waiting for what you don't want to fall out of your pocket. And we'll just wait for it. And I don't care how much you got into it. Don't give me that shit. So, boy. Whew. All right. Anything?
All right. So Scott, I'm glad we got that out of your system. I feel like we've got a good warm up. I think it's time to start the live stream. Let's go.
So we're going to end there. It's been a fun night. I'm really glad. Carlos, it's been a while. We haven't chatted in a while.
I tried, folks. I'm trying. Like at first, I was able to get Brad helped me. Big ups to Brad. He was able to we were right there on the cusp, and we were finally Brad said it's yes. All right, now it's getting interesting. Here we go. Let's go. And then Scott was getting all worked up, and he was swearing and everything. It's all right, finally, this is getting good. All right, now I cracked up my beer. Let's go.
Hey, I don't get money. I ain't got nobody sponsoring. I ain't got nothing. So we're good. I can play music.
A couple more tirades and maybe we can get some money. Let's go. I'm sure there's some. Brad, is there anybody else we can piss off? Can we, vintage cards are ugly. Vintage football is trash. I think we already agreed on that. And, the peasants of the hobby need to die, I think what Scott said. I think that's what he was saying. I'm pretty confident that's how I interpreted it. I believe that's what you said. But anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
No, the corporations can go somewhere else.
Well, look, Scott, I'm a man of peace. I can't necessarily agree with your anti-peasant stance, but you do you, man. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, people. Well, this has been fun. Please leave any comments down below or send them straight to Carlos.
I was going to say, just send them down.
I will take
it. Nothing to do with this.
I will look. No, hey, you're the one who said what everyone needs to say. That's what I believe I heard. So don't say you had nothing to do with this. Say you're absolving yourself of responsibility, Brad. You can't be doing that. Not in the giving season. No. I'm here to give you credit for what you've done.
All right. Well, until next time, like, share, tell a friend, hit the bell, subscribe if you haven't, all the good stuff. And please say hi in the comments. Until next time, see ya.